remember, you're the expert, right? I tell this to sellers all the time. We take for granted. I do this shit every day. The AC guy does this shit every day. The customer on the other end doesn't. And by going above and beyond and explaining it in layman's terms that the customer understands, you're going to earn that credibility.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 50, 50, Roman numeral L episode of Sales Stories in Real Life. I'm your host, Alex Bruschi, and this is the show where professional salespeople share their stories about memorable buying experiences. We have got a very special executive guest today. He has been recognized as a top 25 sales executive to follow on LinkedIn. He has spent over a decade driving over $100 million in ARR, scaling some of the best B2B SaaS companies in the industry. He now works with founders as a fractional go-to-market leader to successfully help companies transition from founder-led sales. Welcome to the show, Mr. Adam J. Man, I heard you had a really interesting experience when you were trying to get your air conditioner fixed. What the heck happened there, Adam?
I did. First off, thanks for having me. And guess number 50. Like I feel like between that and the executive plug, like I have some expectations that I need to match today. So we'll try. But I appreciate being here. So I live in Florida, right? You cannot not have air conditioning. Like it's a bad day. So like it is June 12th. It was 97 degrees today, which in and of itself is bad, but 95% humidity. So you walk outside and you are drenched. Long story short, on that. My house is interesting. When you walk upstairs, and I'm going to try to paint a picture here, but you have my master bedroom, which is like here. Directly off my master bedroom is a guest room. And then off to the right is my kid's room. Kid's 12. Daddy, my room's hot. Dude, leave me alone. Turn your fan on, right? Like, no, he's like, really, Dad? Like, my room's hot. I'm like, all right, like, I'll come in and look at it later. So I go in his room. It's probably like 11 o'clock at night. So it's cool outside. His fan's on, and his room's an oven, dude. Like, it is hot. So I put my hand up to the vent. There's like nothing blowing out, like a little bit of air. So my first thought is that the air is not on. Well, I walk out to around the guest room, which is right next door, and you could hear, like, it's a fucking tornado. You could hear the air coming through the vents. Shh, we have a problem. I do listen, before I'm going to call people, I'm going to try to fix that shit. So I turn it off, I turn it on, I play with the little, I don't know if you've ever messed with your air vents, but like the little thing that could open the vent and close the vent. I'm thinking, maybe this kid like did something with his fan that it's going in the account. It's not. The air is not working. So what do? Time to pick up the phone. 3 companies. That's my rule. Just like when I'm buying software, 3 companies. Call the first one, ask them, explain the situation over the phone. What's the fee to come out? Well, it's $150 diagnostic fee. And if you choose to do the work with us, we waive that fee. But it's going to be $150 just for us to have someone come out. Great. I'll call you back. Call the next people. They're like, since you're a first-time customer, we won't charge you any diagnostic fee. We'll actually give you based on what you told us, give you a ballpark price now. That's subject to change based on what we see, but a ballpark price. We'll send someone out for no charge. Great. We'll have you come out tomorrow. But we still need a third one. Call the third one, and they're like, it's an $85 diagnostic fee. Again, if you do business with us, we'll take that off, but that's what it is. Great. 85 is better than 150. Come on out. So 85 guy comes out first. Tell him everything that's going on, walks upstairs, checks the vent. He's like, yeah, it's definitely not working. No shit. It's like, I need to go up in the attic and see what's going on with the ducts. Maybe something's clogged, whatever. No problem. I work from home. Take as long as you need. Please don't, because you have to turn my air off when you're up in the attic, but take as long as you need. He's up there probably about 40 minutes doing his thing, comes down. This is, the problem. There's I'm not an AC guy, dude. Like, I sell technology, right? Whatever is wrong with the vent comes down. It's going to be, $1,200 some odd dollars to fix it. We could have someone come out on Wednesday. said, all right, I have one more company coming out. I'll be in touch. Well, the price is only good, if we do it today. If you do it tomorrow, the price will be the same, but we're not going to take off the service fee, the $85. Great. We're not doing it today. And PS, you also need a UV thing, like all the other shit they try to sell you. Whatever. We'll talk to you later. Next day, the other company comes out, the free company, walk through the same song and dance, right? There's definitely something wrong. Guy goes like, I need to get up in the attic. Great. He's up there almost 2 hours. Like I'm thinking the guy's fixing something. Like 2 hours. He's fixing like you don't hear any hammers or anything. He comes down. He's like, do you have a few minutes? I'll tell you what's wrong. Tells me what's wrong. Goes into this whole running a maru about how the ductwork is done wrong. So the master bedroom is here. The other two are here. And he's telling me that, the ductwork, instead of going straight, comes down and it goes around the upstairs living room and then is coming back and goes in the mixer box and like all this shit that they don't understand. But then he blows my mind and does one further. The guy pulls out an iPad with a drawing of all my ductwork and he starts showing me this is what the ductwork is, where they went. What we're going to do is we're going to kill these two. We're going to kill this. We're going to pump it directly here, add a mixer box. Like he's going through like the whole entire thing. 2 hours he was up there. What's this going to cost? Figuring they got to make up their 2 hour rate, right? Like this has got to blow my mind. He's under $900. The number doesn't matter. This is within $40 of the estimate they gave me. Spent 2 hours up there to show me exactly what's wrong. Didn't try to sell me a UV light. Didn't try to send me a warranty and told me that he could have people out to do it the very next day. Now, as if that's not, I clearly signed the paperwork. As if that's not enough that he went above and beyond and did all that. Within an hour of him leaving, the office calls his office to confirm that everything went okay, that I was satisfied with my service, that tomorrow is indeed a good time for them to come out. And if there's anything else that I need to, please call them and let them know this is the owner's personal cell phone number. Now, this isn't, to be clear, this isn't a Mickey Mouse small company. This is one of the largest air conditioning companies in West Palm Beach. Incredible buying experience that you don't typically see, especially in an industry that is not known for being super transparent. I figured they're going to be more expensive because they waive the service fee. I figured they're going to, be whatever, to be within $50 of their price and waive the service fee. Because what's your thought, right? Oh, we'll waive the service fee. They're going to make it up on the back end. They're just going to charge me $85 more. They didn't. It was a great experience, man.
That is textbook. And let me just give some context to the listeners. When Adam and I had originally spoke about doing this, he said, oh, I have a really memorable buying experience. I can't wait to tell the story of it. And I hopped on the call with Adam today and I said, hey, I'm really excited to hear about the experience. And he goes, well, I actually have a new one and this one's even better. And now I see why. So you definitely brought your executive A game there. You got the check there. I have so many questions because so many parts of this are relatable to a B2B sale. And let's kind of start off with the beginning. Like obviously one company wants to charge, I'm not going to say an exorbitant, but a company wants to charge a lot just to come out and do a diagnostic, right? One company's kind of in the middle, one company's free. Obviously the company that's free to do a diagnostic, you're going to have them come by 100 times out of 100 times, right? So you kind of almost have sort of PLG-esque model to get your people in the door and having that kind of hands-on sale and making it face-to-face rather than over the phone. It was really kind of fascinating. Well, and actually I got to plug this because it was so funny. The AC people coming in and saying, yeah, it definitely doesn't work. No kidding. So that was great. But how about the pricing point, right? When you're having that first conversation, and they're kind of like, hey, we're not going to charge to come out. Here's an estimation, right, of what we think the work will be. How is that landing for you as a buyer, right? When someone isn't just, oh, I got to take a look first and then I can let you know. They're like, hey, based on what you're telling me, could be subject to change based on what we find. Here's kind of the range that we're going for. How does that land for you as a buyer?
The exact same way that I teach teams that I work with to sell when pricing comes up. There is nothing worse. It's so funny. Sorry, my wife. If you know what rebounding is, it's like this trampoline shit, and my wife is right above my office rebounding, and all I hear is do do do. So when she listens to this, she'll give me shit. Um, exactly the way that I would want people to sell, right? Like when you think about it, no one likes gated pricing, right? Oh, I need to know 27 different things about you before I could even give you a ballpark price. And that is what the other people said. They said, "Well, you're not an AC person. You have no idea. So when we come out, listen. I get that I'm not an AC person, but I can tell you that the AC doesn't work in this room. It does work in this room. It clearly is ductwork. The rooms are this far apart. The upstairs is this big. The square footage is that big. Give me a ballpark. I'm not going to hold you to it. I didn't expect them to. I've actually never had anyone do that before. And I think it's funny, Alex, that you say PLG motion, because when you think about it, we're giving you the pricing up front, PLG. We're going to send someone out for free, PLG, please try our product and use it, versus the old mentality, which is forget the exorbitant one, but even the 85, like that's pretty standard. 85 to 95 out here is standard. How many people don't say yes or say I have to think about it and call 27 other people versus and you said it, if I tell you it's free to come out, I'm going to have them come out. You got to think about that from a close rate perspective. It's brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. And I'm sure some companies are thinking about, oh, well, we're losing out on the 85, right? When meanwhile, you're missing out not only on that one whole job, but all the repeat business and all the referrals. So
that's it. Penny wise, pound foolish. It's the referrals. Because so in Florida, every neighborhood is like a master plan community, if you will, right? Every neighborhood is gated. There's, my neighborhood has like 800 some odd homes in it. What does every big neighborhood have? A fucking Facebook group. And what do people do on Facebook groups? Hey, do you know anyone who can help fix my AC? Who are you going to recommend? It's absolutely brilliant. The referrals alone.
play the long game, folks. So I actually want to talk about this because you train on this. So I want to kind of pull on this thread a little bit more. Let's talk telling pricing in the beginning of the call.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, look, they could have said, "Hey, look, our pricing range is $500 to $10,000, right?" And you kind of mentioned they kind of hit the nail on the head, so that sort of helps. What's your take on this? Is it better to give a huge range rather than no range at all? Do you want to try and attempt to give a tight range, but you may underestimate? Where do you kind of stand on that?
So I think when you give a huge range of, I won't use 500 to 10,000, but like a product that I used to sell, like our founder was like, well, tell them it's between 10,000 and 80,000. I mean, fuck me. Come on. Between 10,000, sorry, I curse a lot. Between 10,000 and 80,000, like that's a massive number. You lose so much credibility. Like you don't know, you ask me a few qualifying questions, right? Like you don't know if it's going to be 10 grand or 80 grand. Listen, it's going to be between 25,000 and, we have customers up to 50, somewhere in that range. Like, give me a ballpark. I don't think it has to be so tight that it's, you're going to come in and price yourself out of it because you're going to say, between 10 and 12 and, oh, it's really, 27. But I think that giving as close to a tight range as you can, where there's a likelihood you're going to be in it or slightly under the top, would be better. Whereas that huge range doesn't work for me. But so no pricing doesn't work for me either.
So do your best to get a tight range. And I mean, I think it's pretty fair to say you don't want to underestimate either, right? You don't want to tell someone, hey, it's 10 to 25, and then you come back at 40, right? Because then.
Yeah, no, that's probably a bad look.
So I think that's a good kind of rule of thumb to follow up. And I'm asking because I'm genuinely curious myself, because as salespeople, what we're thinking is like, we don't want to strap ourselves down, right? Like, what if this could actually be a bigger opportunity? Like, of course, the ideal scenario is to do a deep discovery and then ask for pricing. But we're in the age of the internet. Everything is out there. Everything is out in the open. So even if you want to do it one way, and even if it works better for you one way, you need to adapt to the times. And between giving a humongous range of pricing, not giving pricing, or gating pricing and kind of forcing people through your discovery pop quiz to give them pricing is a horrible buying experience. So why not niche down, really understand what companies buy what package from you and give them that range. Is that kind of fair to say, or what would you add on that?
It is, and I think you hit the nail on the head with deep discovery. I think that it's a two-way conversation, right? When someone asks for pricing, the next thing isn't out of your mouth. Oh, Alex, okay, our pricing is X. You have to get involved in some discovery. For me to give you a ballpark on what our pricing is, what I'd really like to do is understand your business a little bit better. And I actually will say, like, I don't want this to be the Spanish Inquisition. I don't want to ask you 30 something questions, but I'd love to have a conversation. I'd love to have a conversation with you, understand your business, understand what it is you're looking for from us. And then I promise you, before we get off this call, I'm happy to give you a ballpark. It won't be exact, but I will absolutely give you a ballpark, because I recognize that in today's economic climate, everything's going to have to go in front of your CFO, and I want to prepare you as best as I can. And I also want to make sure that we're aligned. That said, we're not going to be the cheapest people that you talk to. And I think it's important to say that up front. Like, are you buying on price, or are you buying on value? If this is strictly a dollars conversation, I'll save us both some time right now.
I love the preemptive call outs of, hey, we're not going to be the cheapest. And hey, I know this is going to have to go to your CFO. Those are just great trust building statements, right? It's not just putting makeup on a pig. It's, hey, here's a pig. It tastes really good, but it might be kind of fat. You're kind of like giving the good and the bad. I think that always lands well with buyers. I'm sure you'd agree. Have so much more I want to talk about. So I'm going to skip to the next topic here, which is, of course, ACs in Florida. You don't have to dig for pain, right? It's 95% humidity. So there's no kind of real discovery process on pain. In this situation, the discovery process was more diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And I thought was really fascinating, and we've had a couple people come on and talk about buying cars and getting car repairs, and getting a car tire. That's what I kind of relate the AC industry to, in a sense. It's like this niche industry. So few people kind of really understand it inside and out. And it's ripe for manipulation, right? If someone knew that you were the only vendor they were calling, they could have said, hey, $2,500 is going to be a weak project, when, meanwhile, they kind of know it's a totally different story, but they kind of know that it's an area of opportunity because you're not really educated. So I compare it to the car thing because we've had people come on and almost give identical stories about like buying cars and, car repairs, is that when you're selling something to someone who has no education, you have to provide that education in a way that's transparent and believable, right? So you have one person that says, hey, here's how much the work is going to be. I can have them out then. And another one, draw you a diagram, be up there for 2 hours, right? When you think about that PLG motion, not only is someone coming out to your house, they're spending 2 hours in the roof. It's probably hot as shit up there, right? I mean, like, they're really kind of putting in that work. So how does that land for you as the buyer, right? You know nothing about ACs. Your son's room is an oven. You just want to get this thing fixed. And someone comes down to you with this comprehension plan, let's just say, of, hey, here's what's wrong. Here's what we're going to do. How did that land for you?
It's funny because you said it right. I don't know shit about AC, right? Like, at the end of the day, they both or three, anyone could have come down and been, listen, it's a ductwork problem. You're not getting enough air to that room, and we're going to have to do some ductwork to fix it. Great. I mean, I figured it was a ductwork problem. The fact that and it's funny you talk about buying cars, because we looked at cars this weekend too. That's a whole separate experience that we could do another show on.
Part two.
The fact that they came down and tried to, I don't want to say educate me. I mean, it was educate me, but the fact that they made it very deliberate attempt to ensure that I understood what they were doing and what they were charging me for, versus this is the price because we say it is. Listen, the diagram in and of itself, I think, was something, but let's even put the diagram aside. If they would have come down, no diagram, and explained, hey, this is what it is. The ductwork doesn't go direct and it's actually going around. And it makes me understand the cost. Like, listen, I'm a capitalist, right? I'm in sales. Like, you got to make money, but there's hard supplies that come with AC. Like, you got to spend money to fix my problem. The fact that they took the time to tell me and show me that is what gave me the confidence that they know what they're talking about, and that they respected me as a person enough to walk me through what it is they were going to do, versus, oh, we're just going to fix some ductwork.
It's and this is it's a double-edged sword here because you can easily over explain and then
Sure.
just confuse the crap out of the other person, right? Or you can give kind of just enough of an understanding to where people can latch onto it. They can
Yeah.
understand the why and the what behind their paying while also still kind of being at a level to where they easily understand and you don't have to like get an education on ACs, right? So I think you said it right. They weren't educating you, they were properly explaining
Yeah.
their services and the why behind that. So I really kind of enjoy that. Was there sort of anything else during that process that stood out to you, or maybe like how the communication happened, right? Was anything else kind of above and beyond the other vendors or what happened?
So there's a few things about like the whole way they conduct business, right? Like it is 2023, right? 23, 24, 23. I'm getting old. And the way you conduct business and your use of or lack of use of technology, I think says a lot. So the morning of, I get a text message saying your text coming out. I get a link that says track your driver. I click on the link and like it shows me like where the driver is. And like again, I live in a gated neighborhood. Like he's pulling up to the gate. I see him pulling up to the gate. He pulls up to my house. My text message goes off that says your tech has arrived with a picture of said tech in said uniform. The whole holistic experience was one of we are professionals. We value your time. If you've ever had any type of person come to your house for anything, there's nothing where like the dreaded fucking Comcast, right? When's Comcast coming up? They'll be there between 8 and 6, my friend. Like seriously, between 8 and 6. Like here's where your tech is, and you can see exactly when he's coming to you. The whole experience. And then, like I said, the phone call when they were done to make sure like that I was satisfied. One of the things I do with startups that I work with very early on, initially I trained the founders to do it. When I've been a head of sales or a CRO, I've done it. And it's scripted, but it's a message that goes out to every single customer. That's like, hey, Bob, I know that you're working with Alex. You're in incredible hands with him. I just want to introduce myself and let you know if you ever need anything, I'm just an email or a phone call away. It's just showing that you care. And the fact that they came and showed that they cared. And then little fun fact that I didn't even think about till you said it, the guy brought a little vacuum with him and like dusted up the insulation when he was done. Like you didn't have to do that. Like he wanted to make sure that there was no insulation on the floor. Like that's the experience.
It's it's all the little things, right?
Yeah.
It's being able to track them on the way there, right? You've got kids, you've got a wife, right? The last thing you want to do is kind of be waiting on pins and needles, like when are they going to show up? Like if I have to run to the supermarket, no, I can't go, or whatever errands you have to run. And I actually wanted to ask about that. You kind of beat me to it. That call after is just such a stroke of genius, and
Yeah.
we know that company had to invest into this technology to make this happen.
Yeah.
I'm sure none of those other vendors have it. And sure, maybe their per transaction profit is a little bit greater, right? But when you're
Sure.
delivering this next level buying experience where you've got tech to track and you've got, someone up in your roof for 2 hours drawing you diagrams on an iPad. And then afterwards you get a text message or a phone call saying, hey, how did we do? None of those little details are lost on me because if that text message or that phone call comes a week later, hey, how'd it go? Maybe it doesn't land the same, right? Like
It doesn't land the same.
they're expanding on their one opportunity that they know they're really making a life changing. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but a really big value for you. And they're just like kind of pounding it home. I mean, are they sending text messages in between, right? Are they kind of sending out these spam messages in between, or is the communication just purely portraying the value that they're
It
providing?
is purely value. I didn't get one piece of bullshit, not one extra email. The guy didn't try to sell me a UV light or a service plan. None of that. I think, and that's what it was, right? Like he asked, how do we service our AC? I told him how I service it. Like it was professional is just the easiest word, right? Like when you look at AC repair, when you look at buying a car, when you look at all of that, the last word that comes to mind is professional. And this was professional versus, and I'm going to go off topic, but like we went to look at a car this weekend and I asked the guy when we walked in, like, do you have a particular model in stock? And he says to me, dude, I shit you not. He's like, oh, Of course we do. We are the largest volume blank dealer in Florida. Like we have everything in stock. We blow Miami out of the water. Like my immediate impression was like, I'm obviously in sales, but it was like revolt, right? Like this is like car training 101. Like you, he lost so much. I wouldn't buy a car from him if he was the only dealer that had the car.
Just say yes. Like, just say yes.
Yeah,
And
we,
it's,
we have three on the lot. Great.
it's funny because I talked to Kyle Adams about this a few episodes ago. Is like the power of stories, but how stories can also hurt you, right? So, like in some circumstances, you need to tell stories about other customers, right? About other people that you've helped or whatever. And there are some circumstances where you just got to answer the question in as minimal words as possible, right? And the kind of rule of thumb that we sort of came up with together on the spot, I'm curious to hear your take on this, is that when you're speaking with a more technical buyer, probably not the best idea to tell stories, right? Or someone's asking you a pointed question, not the time to tell a story, right? Hey, do you have this model on the lot? Well, Adam, let me tell you about someone that came in last week and he asked the same question. And then I showed him that, and it's like, come on, like just answer the question. But when someone say maybe a more, what's the way to say it? Like above the line, sort of visionary CEO,
Sure.
right? Whoever it is, then you can maybe kind of insert that story to sell the whole vision rather than kind of answering a question directly. Where do you land with that as far as storytelling and sales being the right time or the wrong time?
So I think you're above the line is important for me. And again, I'm thinking on the fly also. Do you, can I? Yes, no. How do I? What do I? I think it's all in the preface. Like, how do I do this? Well, let me tell you how, Bob's company that's in similar sizes does this and what they've seen. Well, what do I do to do this? Well, let me walk you through kind of what that is. Do you have the ability to, I mean, software? Do you have the ability to download an Excel? The last thing I want to hear is, well, our customers over at Salesforce, have decided that they prefer, Excel instead of CSV. So we built it. Yes, we could download into Excel. Versus, well, how would I change this graph to, a bar graph instead of a pie graph? That's a great question. Our friends over at Salesforce actually, asked us this the other day and we built it out for them. Let me show you how easy that is. Very different scenarios.
And by the way, I know we're on episode 50 now. I don't know if we mentioned that enough. But we come in with no questions prepared. Adam and I are just totally riffing on the spot. Those were perfect examples. Kyle and I kind of went at it one angle, and then this is kind of a totally different angle of it. How to, can I? Freaking great. I love it. I mean, look, we've got a lot of B2B sellers that are listening to the show, Adam, and we talked about a lot this episode. And one of the things that we want to make sure that folks are doing is actually retaining and actually being able to go out and take action on what they're learning here on Sales Stories in Real Life. If folks were going to remember one takeaway scenario from your story with the AC fixers, I don't know what word I'm looking for. What would be that big takeaway that you'd give to our sellers so that they can get better at their jobs?
Yeah, great question. I think for me, it's go above and beyond and think about the entire buying experience. When the gentleman was in my house, he didn't have to spend 2 hours up there and make a diagram. So that going above and beyond, showing me that it was important to him that I understood what he was doing, showed that he wanted to make sure that he was providing me with that level of service for an area that I don't typically know. So as a B2B seller, when you're doing your disco, when you're doing your demo, when you're multi-threading, regardless of what it is, put yourself in the customer's shoes, go above and beyond, take that extra step that might take you 30 extra seconds, 2 extra minutes to make sure that you're providing your customer with that best experience, that they understand something. Remember, you're the expert, right? I tell this to sellers all the time. We take for granted. I do this shit every day. The AC guy does this shit every day. The customer on the other end doesn't. And by going above and beyond and explaining it in layman's terms that the customer understands, you're going to earn that credibility. They're going to see you as, I hate the term, but I'm going to use it. They're going to see you as a trusted advisor versus a salesperson.
Well, I'll even draw an example to your AC experience just to pound that point home even further. Let's say everything in your buying experience was exactly the same, but he didn't come down from the roof and vacuum up the insulation, right? Sure. It's not going to change your buying decision. It's not going to make you hate them, but it's just that little thing, right? Taking, like you said, that 30 seconds to just vacuum the floor really quick. And then you go back up in the room and you're like, wow, he was up there for 2 hours and even went and vacuumed the floor, right? Like I said, that's not going to affect your purchasing decision right on the spot. It's not going to make you hate them. But now maybe you go out there and you toot their horn even more, right? Or you're
I said it to my wife because she wasn't home. I texted her. I'm like, you won't believe it. This guy just vacuumed up the floor. Like, it's the little shit. It's the call from the owner. It's the little things that make a difference. And we spend so much time focusing on the big things, and like, we got to get the slide deck right, and we got to, we'll spend 20 minutes thinking about, the sentence of an email. Like, that's all important. Don't get me wrong, but it's the little things. Go back to basics.
the one thing, because there are countless vendors for anything you want to buy, right? You want to buy CRM, you want to buy call recorder, whatever it is. You've got competitors. The one way that you can set
There's
yourself
only one
apart,
CRM company out there. It's Salesforce.
he said it. He said it. Shout out to Salesforce. But I mean, in serious terms, though, like the one way that you can really bring value, and like you said, trusted advisor, I hate the word bring value because only the other person knows what value is. You don't know what value is until you confirm it with them. But when you give value, it's through the buying experience that you're giving to your customers, right? That is giving value in 2023 because people can go on the internet, they could find whatever they want, they could purchase software with a credit card without even talking to a salesperson from one of your competitors. As a salesperson, you're a customer experience guide in a sense, right? Like, you're a buying journey shepherd rather than the person that's just dragging them through everything.
100%, man. 100%.
Adam, this has been fantastic, man. You are working on a whole bunch. You and I have been connected for a whole long time, and it's been a pleasure. And this is the first time that we get to chat one-on-one, and I had a blast. I hope you did
Likewise,
too.
man. Likewise.
I know that you're working on a lot, so why don't you go ahead and plug away with the audience? We'd love to hear it.
I love it. Sell yourself. It's funny. We're always comfortable selling for other people, but not ourselves. So 5 weeks ago, I left corporate America and made a jump into doing my own thing. So two real pillars of my business. Number one, it's helping early stage founders. So think seed to mid A, transition from founder led sales. So either you don't have a sales team, maybe you have one or two sellers, but you really have no process. That's kind of my number one wheelhouse. And number two, it's the side hustle, but I love it so much, is sales leadership coaching. So for folks who want to become a manager or who have just become a manager and have been thrown in and given no training, that's kind of where my coaching comes in. I say we, my practice is my own, my fractional leadership practice, but I have a podcast that's launching with my buddy Dale, which will be coming out in a few weeks. I cannot share. By the time this launches, I can share the name of it. It will be Revenue Reimagined. So we're going to think about what 2023 has done from the market and looking at revenue and go-to-market holistically from top of funnel all the way through renewals. Couple assets coming out on becoming a leader versus a manager. There is a big difference. For all that and more, the website is super complicated. It's my name. It's www.adamj.io.
And Adam, where can people find you outside of adamj.io?
Outside of adamj.io, where's the one place you could find all sales leaders? We eat, sleep, and breathe LinkedIn. It's whatever it is, /Adam B as in boy, Jay.
Folks, find Adam on LinkedIn, Adam J, Jay, last name, early stage companies, seed A. Find Adam if you want to scale your sales team. Sales leaders, if you want to be coached on becoming a sales leader, hit up Adam. And if you're looking for another podcast to listen to, we are very supportive of our other podcast hosting friends here. We are a giving community. We are a supportive community. Go check out Revenue Reimagined with Adam and Dale. Adam, man, this has been an absolute blast. You did all of the executives proud here today. Sales Stories in Real Life, fam. Hope you enjoyed as well. We'll see you next week. Cheers.